Now we're going to take a moment to discuss the over-refraction box. If we select the over-refraction box, this opens up and you'll see a grayed out value up top. Currently it reads plus a quarter minus a half axis 139. That's the empirical over-refraction based on the cross-cylinder calculation between the spectacle Rx as it's entered comparison to the corneal K values. So you'll notice here we have 1.86 diopters, axis 95, and the spectacle Rx has 2 diopters of cylinder, axis 105. As an example, if I were to change this to match the K readings at 95 and hit continue, now when I select the over-refraction, you'll notice it's plano. So it's good to note that is there. The times where that will be of more value is when we have a lot of residual cylinder that's not on the cornea, and that you may need to enter beforehand on your initial lens. But if the spectacle Rx cylinder and the corneal cylinder are a close match, you will not want to use that value to begin with. At this point, let's say we put this lens on the patient's eye and we do get an over-refraction. So it's plus a half minus 1 axis 90. Simply hit the over-refraction box and enter your over-refraction using the drop-down menu. You'll notice when we enter cylinder, the prism box is checked by default. You have the option of adding prism to help with orientation and rotation, or uncheck it and no prism will be added. In this case, I'll check the prism box so we can see what it does and hit continue. You'll be prompted if you want to use the values, select yes. One thing you'll note is the thickness of the lens was increased immediately, and if you watch the profile as I spin around, you'll see the inferior portion of the lens is much thicker than the superior portion. That's the front surface prism orientating the contact lens. So in deciding whether you're going to use prism or not, there are a couple methods you can use. One is to look at the initial topography and look at the alignment of the lens. So in this case, we have almost 2 diopters of corneal cylinder. The cylinder is very centrally located, and as we move out towards 5 and 7 millimeters of the cornea, you'll notice there's not much toricity. So this lens will probably rotate on the eye. Another way you can tell is if you have your initial lens and you find that cylinder over refraction, and remove the lens, dot the lens, and then put it back on the eye, and check that dot for stability. If the dot moves around, then you know you're going to need prism. If the dot stays stable, then chances are you will not need prism. And finally, when it comes to the over-refraction, there are cases where we'll have subsequent over-refractions, whether it be troubleshooting the lens itself, or as the years go on, we just make small adjustments. So when we click over-refraction, if we already have a value in these white boxes, we do not overwrite those. If you overwrite them, they will delete the initial over-refraction and use your new one. So in this case, if you had this particular lens, you had a minus a quarter over-refraction, and you simply changed this to say minus a quarter, pulled out the cylinder, you would lose or delete this over-refraction. Rather, what you'll do is select the More button, and this will open up a new box. Enter your new over-refraction in here, and then hit Use Comp, which is the compound over-refraction. And you'll notice it will change your, in this case, plus a half to plus a quarter. Just did the simple math there. If you had a compound cylinder over-refraction, it would do the math and replace your initial one with your new one combined with the previous over-refraction. It's also important to note that when we enter this over-refraction, I only clicked the Use Comp button once. If I click it multiple times, it will continue to add your over-refractions. So do not double click, only click that button one time, verify that the values are what you want, and then hit continue. In this case, I messed up and put too many values in there. So if I hit continue, it will ask me, do I want to use these values? I can simply say no. And when I hit this box, I'll be back to my original. I'll hit More, add my compound over refraction, hit Use Comp, confirm the values that I want, hit Continue. Do I want to use these values? Yes.